Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Um, welcome to What's on Your Mind Wednesday Live with Uchonuchu. Today, we have quite an interesting thing to discuss. So I just want to talk about um, how do I put it now? I want to talk about certain issues that are confusing. We hold on to things that really doesn't matter. Um, and a lot of young men seem to have a certain notion that they've not tested, they've not tried. Because your father told you this, or because your uncles told you this, or because you and your friends decided that this is the way to go about something, does not necessarily mean that it's correct. We should always hold on to what is the fact, what is the truth. For me, I want to research everything and know the workability of that particular thing. How does it work? I'll give you an example. When I wanted to get married, this is just from my secondary school. We just secondary school talk. There's not that anybody advised us. We say, I can't marry if I don't have two cars. No, three cars. One for myself, one for madam, one to carry the kids to school. What kind of talk is that? Who said that you need to have? Well, we held on to it until I started realizing it was when I was must have been maybe 26, 27. I would now started looking at what does it mean. So if you don't have those things, you will not be able to get married. What does material things does it have to? Is it that the poor don't get married or what? And I find it quite amusing that people hold on to certain dogmas, certain stories, certain folk tales that they were told, and it begins to have an issue when they now grow up. They begin to have an issue, and it affects our lives. It affects us in such a way that we can miss destiny, we can miss opportunities because we feel that people are like this. In this country, Nigeria, always, how are you? What's your name? What's your name? And maybe if the person say, I'm David, the next question is that, where are you from? Anytime people ask that question, I just keep laughing because they're asking you, where are you from, so that they can gauge you. They can begin to ask, okay, you are supposed to behave in a certain way. Well, what if that person, okay, what if that person, like now I have a friend, is when we were in school together, he's only been to Lagos, maybe like twice or three times. He's from Ikorodu in Lagos, but he grew up in Enugu. He's he speaks more Igbo than Yoruba. Yoruba he's just a bit scanty. You understand because of his parents, because his father tries to speak to him. His mother is Igbo. But how do you now judge that person by being a Lagosian? How do you judge what he has known for the past 30 years is this? And he's an excellent trader. He likes to trade, and I think it's because of the environment where he finds himself. So how do you now judge that person by his state? And I say this because counseling is very important, extremely important, in counseling. And I believe that I have a question. Because of time and the coffee, we're going to take just one question today. um, um, just one question today. But I have two people that are going to come live with me today. One is a dear friend of mine is going to talk. I just have to bring him into this topic because I need us to trash it out, because we will help young people. We help young people that have wrong notion about certain things. I will read the question, then I will now bring up the people that will discuss this with me today. Okay, it says, "Good afternoon, sir. My question is on relationship." Okay, I'm in a dilemma. I am getting into a relationship with a girl who worships in the same church as me. But recently, I came to know that her parents are members of a white garment church. I don't like, I will introduce him. But recently, I came to know that her parents are members of white garment church. I don't like white garment church and can't afford to have members of such faith as father and mother-in-law. My question, sir, is what do I do? And how do I leave the girl without hurting her? I am quite confused. I thought he was going to ask. Well, let me just hold on to what I want to say. His name is Chinedu. I hope, Chinedu, if you are on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Zoom, or you are on YouTube, just indicate, because it's because of you we are here. We're asking a question. Today, I have a dear friend of mine. His name is Jite Orimiono. He is a licensed HR practitioner, a lawyer, a writer, and a relationship coach with over 20 years in marriage with 5 kids. So I decided to invite him today because I think we should, from this, I don't want to talk. I just want someone more experienced to be able to come and share more light in this. Jite, you're welcome. Can you unmute yourself and just say something? You're welcome to this hot discussion. I also have with me Banji Stephen, is a colleague of mine in the office here. So I want him to moderate between Jite, Pastor Jite, and myself today. So you, Banji, Pastor Jite is our guest today, so you moderate between. Well, let him start and give us his own perspective. But I really want us to do justice to this topic, because I believe we'll be helping someone today. All right, Banji, over to you. Pastor Jite, are you with us here?
Yes, sir. I am here, and I'm glad to
Pastor
be here.
Jite, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm here, and I'm very glad to be here.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Okay. All right, so Banji, over to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you and welcome, Pastor Jite. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, it's good to have you here with us today. I will trust that you do good justice to the questions that we have here. So our question is quite interesting because it sounds a bit like a conclusion and also sounds like a question at the same time. So, and I think that with this, we can unravel a couple more questions as regards faith, relationship, and the dilemma that people like me, and a lot of us out there are in. So I'm going to read the question really slowly and try to define some part of the question so we can just see perspectives as we go. So it says, "Good afternoon, sir. My question is on relationship."
Pastor Jite, are you on Instagram?
Okay, let me
join. Just join me on Instagram. So
okay,
that
I'll do
people
that.
on Instagram, the people on Instagram can benefit from it.
All right,
Okay,
I'm
because
going
I have
there.
a couple of people on Instagram, so just join me there so you can. So those of you on Instagram, we just give us a minute. Okay. Yeah, are you there
Yes.
now?
Yes, I've just asked to be joined.
Okay, all right, okay. I can see you now. Okay, we're waiting for you.
Okay. All right. Can you see me there on Instagram?
Not yet, just a minute. Okay, but I really want them to see you. So, Banji, come, it's rolling. Can you see him there? I can't see him here yet.
Okay, I can see myself and see you.
Okay, you can see. Okay, you can see us.
Yes.
Do I close this or? Okay.
And I can see somebody.
Okay. All right. Fine. All right. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Those of you on Instagram, I welcome you. Those of you on Facebook, I welcome you one more time. So let us just go ahead. Okay. Are we okay to go now? All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, well,
Banji, you are on mute. I guess you are on. Yeah.
you're
Okay.
mute.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. You can hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, great. So he says, good afternoon, sir. My question is on relationship. I'm in a dilemma. I'm getting into a relationship with a girl who worships in the same church with me. But recently I came to know that her parents are members of White Garment Church. I don't like White Garment Church, and I can't afford to have members of such faith as father and mother-in-law. My question, sir, is what do I do and how do I leave the girl without hurting her? I am quite confused. I think it's a two-faced question. It says, first is the story that his mom is, his mother and father-in-law to be are from a White Garment Church, and he doesn't want to have people of White Garment Church as mother or father-in-law. And I think that's the first thing we should talk about. So what's wrong? I think I should start from you, Pastor Kiki. What do you think? I mean, having people of a different denomination, and particularly in this case, a White Garment Church as mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, those kinds of to have that kind of extended family with such faith. What do you think, sir?
Okay. Okay. Like I said earlier, I'm glad to be here. The subject of marriage is something that is very dear to my heart and that of my wife. So thank you for inviting me here. First and foremost, the first problem that I see here is the issue of different faiths. It's really not a problem, but I thought, I may be wrong and I stand corrected, that people who are of the White Garment Church are also Christians. And if they are Christians, and then that's the same faith. But let us address the issue of different faith. Straight away, young people, when they want to get married, they get carried away. Immediately, the question is posed, will you marry me or I do? And they jump into preparation without actually paying attention to the details that they ought to pay attention to. So you find them spending so much amount of time and energy and efforts in making preparation for the ceremony of marriage rather than the business of marriage itself. That's what usually happens from the experiences that we have. Then, now the question is, I believe this gentleman is a Christian, and the Bible actually says that we should not be unequally yoked. Simply, that simply means to me, if you want to get married, be careful. The faith of your significant other or their family. For the lady, this is a problem already, and I call this part of a red flag. What I call red flags. It's a red flag that she needs to be careful about and be mindful of. And for the gentleman who says he cannot have parents that are members of a white garment church as father and mother-in-law, that for me is a bucket list. It's part of his bucket list, because when people want to get married, they should have a bucket list. And what a bucket list? A bucket list is a list of experiences and achievements that you hope to have or accomplish in the course of marriage. So, and this is one of them, because I always advise young people, please, it is better to break courtship than to break a marriage, but don't get into it in the first place. If there are signs that are likely to create problems, which are those red flags that I mentioned, one of them is this. So if he doesn't want to have such person as father-in-law, he had better, because his worry from the question is how, he said, that so that how do I leave the girl without hurting her?
Yes.
The question of how you would leave her is to sit with her and just let her know that this is a no-no for me.
Pastor Chite, I want to ask something.
Yeah.
Because he said him and the girl worship in the same church. So yes, the problem is not the girl. The problem is the parents-in-law.
The family.
So the family. So now, is it that two of you are of the same faith? They're about to start a family. So, but now you are having issues with the parents-in-law, the parents of the girl. So can we just talk about, is it because the girl is not the issue, they're of the same faith, but now it's the parents. So is that enough ground to break the relationship?
All right, let me just put it this way. I always say that love is not enough. There is so much that you need to add to make love to thrive. It is easy to say, well, if the young lady is the person that is going to be in the marriage, I am the person that is going to be in the marriage. It doesn't matter whether it's my father-in-law or my mother-in-law to be have issues, or we have issues with them. That is a what do I call it? It's like a tinderbox that you need to be mindful of. Yes, they are not the people you are going to marry, but let me tell you, my mother-in-law has my wife and a brother, two of them. And she used to say that when my children get married, she's going to have 2 sons. And then when her son gets married, she's going to have 2 daughters, that is my wife and the daughter-in-law, that is the wife of the son. And when her daughter, who is my wife, gets married, then she's going to have 2 sons, which is her son and her son-in-law. So it is easy to want to separate family from marriage, but let me tell you, in whatever environment, if you want to have a successful marriage, your father-in-law or your mother-in-law, you cannot divorce them or remove them from your relationship. They are an integral part of the success of your marriage. If you permit me, I can continue. Now, why do I say that? When they get married, let's assume it didn't take them long. They had a child the first year. Maybe it's a young lady who doesn't even have any experience. Mother is going to go and do omugo. That's our tradition, or what is prevalent in this climate. So she's going to go do omugo. And this is somebody that her husband cannot stand because of her faith. that's a problem in itself. Whether you like it or not, there is definitely going to be friction. And whenever the subject of father-in-law or mother-in-law comes into the fore, trouble has come. And if they are not careful, that can lead to the destruction of their marriage. So it is important that that is cleared from the beginning. It's either they are going to sit down and say, let's look at why is white garment church a problem to you? If they can deal with it from there, they might just have a solution to it.
Mm.
All right, I'll leave it at that. So in a nutshell, you cannot separate your family from the marriage. It is easy to say you can separate them, but it's not the right thing to do to separate them.
Okay, so thank you so much for your profound thoughts on this issue. So I'm going to ask you, sir, Uchenachi, because the question seems a bit conclusive. So Chinedu here is asking, first he says, what do I do? And next he says, how do I leave the girl without hurting her? Not do I leave the girl or do I not leave the girl? So he's not asking first whether to leave the girl or not leave the girl. What he's asking is how to leave the girl. And I think that's a bit conclusive, as though, okay, yeah, I've decided that I'm going to leave. I just need to know how to do it peacefully.
Give us answer.
No, I'm asking Uchenachi that.
So, okay.
Yeah. So what do you think, sir? Is that the right question, or should he be asking something else?
Okay, the thing is like that last question is like, how do I leave the girl? Is like as if he has concluded, but yet he says I'm quite confused, because if you say what can I do, he's asking for advice. Then he's saying also, how do I leave the girl? Is as if he has made up his mind. Then he says again, I am quite confused. So it's quite confusing what he's trying to say. But let me just quickly try to answer both. Pastor Gita has given us a wonderful insight about family. I remember when I did my marriage counseling, they drew a triangle, and in that triangle, it's you and your spouse, then you and your spouse, your church. One end of the triangle is you and your spouse. The other end, since the triangle has three sides, is your church. Then the third part is your parents. So you can't divorce one when one part is not agreeing. Then the marriage has to be reviewed. Those things have to be reviewed, because the pain in a marriage is very painful. It's better you separate while you're dating than to separate as a couple. That is very painful and very dangerous. So, but I asked, what I want to probably start from. Chinedu is saying that I don't like white garment. Is it a personal thing? Because have you met the parents of this girl? Have you met them as individuals, not being judged by the church they go to? You and your spouse already go to the same church. So that is the first indication that you and your spouse and your children are going to belong to the same faith. But the thing is, have you gone? If it's a personal dislike, then it's a different matter. Because what you dislike, if we give you an advice and tell you, I don't see that as a problem, we can counsel you on that. But you have said so many things. If it's a personal dislike, what is it that you don't like about the church? Nobody is saying that you go to the church. But if the parents are okay for their daughter to go to another church, then I don't see the problem there. If they are okay for a daughter to marry and they are okay, the parents are okay, then I don't see any problem, because you can hate somebody from a distance and you've not even met the person. Because I belong to a particular church, I also some Orthodox churches don't like Pentecostal until they get to have a relationship with them. So if it's a personal thing, then we need to sit down and find out what is the problem and give you ideas. Okay, find out the parents first. But if it's not, then it's an issue, because these parents, you are going to have them. You cannot dislike, and nobody can dislike a parent. You can't dislike the parent and love their daughter. It doesn't work. Can't work. You can't because what if the parents insist that you should marry in the church? Most people, I have gone to Celestial Cherubim and Seraphim Church. A friend of mine in church got married in Cherubim and Seraphim. We went there. All of us are from the same church. When we went there, it's not an issue. But the parents knew that their daughter was going somewhere, and you can't separate a daughter from the parents. But it's not a problem, or it's not about denomination. Because they wear white, they should be disliked. Because they wear white, you shouldn't have anything to do with them. I think it's about individual. Meet them up. Have you met them? Are there issues concerning their daughter with you? If not, I don't see any reason. You are not marrying them or marrying their church, but you have to relate with them. For you to be in a relationship with this girl, there's something, some form of feelings you have had before then. So why don't you explore that and make sure, for me, before I drop the baton on anything, I want to know that I've put in my best. The question is, what do you do? What do you do is to have a relationship with this girl's parents. From the things you are asking her, you ask her, will they accept for us to be? Meet them one-on-one and have a relationship with them. That's what I'll say you should do before you say you are not doing anymore. And it's a bit premature for me to tell you how to leave a girl without hurting her. I don't think we are there yet. I don't think we are there without hurting her. That one is, I don't think is a difficult thing to do. But you just can't date somebody and just walk away. There must be ground. Example, people separate when they are AS. I know people that have dated for 4 or 5 years. As they wanted to get married, they went to go and do their genotype. They saw they were AS, and they had to separate on that note. So there's a way you can separate, but I think this is premature. If you do what you have asked, what do you do? Find out exactly what the parents are before you can say, okay, I raise the white flag, I'm not doing again. And I'm quite confused. So this is my honest advice to you, Chinedu, before anything is done. So I rest my case here.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. I think this is going really great. We've dealt with the issue of faith or denomination, so to say. And so, just like Pastor GT also said, I mean, if they are Christians, then it is the same faith, even though they are different denominations. And what you talked about last, I think that's where we're going to put this to rest. Now, is it possible to break up with a person without hurting the person? Because usually that's the bridge that a lot of people are scared to cross. And it brings us to the issue of getting married out of pity. They always say don't get married out of pity, make sure you open your eyes, shine your eye, all that stuff. But and I think that, I don't know, but for many of us, let me speak for young people, we kind of just go into relationships, right? This girl is beautiful, I think I like her, she's brilliant, she has a nice body shape, and then we just go in there. And then we start, and we're in already, right? And we start discovering things that we do not like. But the relationship is still progressing. As we keep discovering the things that we might not be able to live with, the relationship keeps progressing. We're there 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years. And then it's like, okay, if I want to really get serious with my life, I need to end this and go find someone that I'm more compatible with, or someone that I think I can build a life with. And at that point, it gets really difficult, because for many guys, especially if the intent is genuine right? Like, because if it's not genuine, it's not hard to break up because you don't care much what the other person feels, right? But if the intent of the relationship is genuine, then it becomes an issue. I don't want to hurt someone that I care about. I want to find a way to let go of the person and still keep my personal integrity, or keep, the relationship in some type of way. And this is for both sides. I mean, it's there for the guys, it's there for the girls as well. And so some of these relationships legit lead into marriages, and then in 5-6 years there's a problem with the marriage, or it just leads to a kind of marriage that you have to cope with for the rest of your life, or something like that. So how do you see this? And anybody can actually answer this, but what do you think, what advice will you give to young people in this kind of situations? Pastor Chite, do you want to go first?
Okay. There are different types of relationship, but we are particularly looking at the relationship between a man and a woman, a young person, two young persons looking to take the relationship to the marriage level. In a situation such as this, you have said a lot about it, because it appears that the person we are talking about in question, we are not sure whether or not he has met these people one-on-one to be able to ascertain whether or not they are the kind of people that he wants to have that kind of almost life relationship with. But in terms of what someone should do when you want to leave someone, and whether the person will be hurt or not, usually if you have a relatively good relationship with someone and it has gotten to the point where you need to leave for whatever reason, and this young man here, Chinedu, has given us his reason, because breaking relationships can be very hurtful. And if you're not careful, there are people who have invested into those relationships, and like they say, even take that the part of a woman, they say hell had no fury like a woman scorned. When you break such a relationship without due consideration to the impact that may have on the person, you could create very indelible scars and problems. So in a situation like this, the advice is let them sit together, because in relationship, communication is key. They need to sit together and say, girl, look at the problem. Pastor Uche just mentioned the people who went to check their genotype and discover that they are not properly matched. And that happens. You can say, yes, it doesn't really matter because we love each other. But what will happen when the children come? When you end up with a sickle cell child, what is going to happen is you are going to have a miserable life thereafter. And what about the child herself? So all those things, it is important that you sit down to discuss them. And like I said earlier, what happens if people don't, especially young people, do not bother to sit down to look at these issues? How are we going to live our life? What are the likely problems? When issues come, how are we going to deal with them? Or how are we going to deal with our parents and how they will connect into our lives and all that? They don't do that. So the advice straight away is Chinedu needs to sit with his girlfriend and say, see, look at, I hate or I do not like the denomination of your parents for so and so and so reason. You see, it is important to hear the other person's point of view. She might just say something, just something that could change his mind. So it is important. But like you also rightly mentioned, it appears he has made up his mind. But you cannot make up your mind and you are at the same time saying you are confused, which again, making up his mind may not be totally correct because he's worried about hurting the young lady or whatever lady that she is. So this conversation is important. Communication, they need to talk. And then he will put these reasons on the ground, such on the table, facts face up. And I'm sure the young lady will understand, no matter how hurtful it is, like I said, it is better to break courtship, a long courtship. It can be 7 years, 10 years, but it's better to break it when you discover that it will not be possible for you to proceed, rather than go into it and end up being in a, how do I put it, a marriage that is going to be hurtful, that you are going to bear all your life. So that's usually because you can't go into a marriage with this kind of situation. So that's the advice. Advice is communication, talk, discuss. Talking will bring out the things that you feel. So in the course of that conversation, they might just find the solution to the problem. They may or may not, but it is better than you just break it and somebody's heart is gone because they probably have invested or they are hoping, and they, that kind of thing. Young people, you are planning, okay, you think this is how it's going to end, you are going to end up because of your expectations, and then all of a sudden, yeah, so that's what they should do.
Well, thank you so much. Pastor Uche, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, well, we just round up with this. A lot of young people make this. The mistake is from the get-go. They're so interested in going out, eating chicken, going to parties, and showing off each other that they're not asking questions. They're not asking. I think I met with a lady a while back, and I told her, go and think of what you want in a marriage. Now it shouldn't be less than 21 items that you need to discuss. Ask them about their faith. Ask them about which church are we going to be, which faith are we going to bring up our children. We just assume because all of us are Christians, it means that we believe in the same thing. So you need to find out things like when we discuss things like family background, things like education. While you're eating the chicken, ask the person deep questions. Let it be that you have one question you could discuss from time to time. That will help you know the person that you're getting married with. Not when the person proposes, that's when you are now digging deep and trying to find out who this person is. He's already late. Emotions are already at play, and you can't just, at that point, it becomes difficult for you to walk away. So I think that young people should not make that mistake. Dating is a time for fact-finding. And that's when you know whether you guys are suitable or not. Then going forward, the last question here is, how do you leave? It's easier when you leave someone and the facts are there. That because of this, because of your parents, because of this, I don't think we should proceed. Communication is key. So you cannot just walk away from somebody because their parents go to white garment church. I'm sure you would have known that for a while. So is that good enough grounds for you to walk away? So, but your feelings are genuine. Your feelings are genuine. You can't get into marriage and you dislike your parents-in-law. That marriage is going to be shaky for a long time, except you resolve those things. So what I will advise is that tell her your mind. Let's sit her down and say, look, I have this issue, I have this issue, I have this issue. You people have missed the hard talk before. Now is the time for hard talk. And like Pastor Dite said, it might just be one word she will say or something, and all these things is resolved. Or it's obvious that two of you need to part ways. Whether you part the pathway genuinely or with cogent reasons, is still very painful. So there's no way you will not hurt her. It's still very painful. But the thing is, there's reasons for us to part. And she will be more, how will I say, she will accept it. Even though she doesn't like it, she will accept it because there are cogent reasons for that. Okay, so Chinedu, what I will advise is that we have tried to answer this question, but there's still some missing links or some, we don't understand. Maybe you can ask another question from the things that we have said today, and next week we can answer you if you still want us to discuss with it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Pastor Jide, for being here.
All right. If Pastor permits, can I sign off at this time?
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for being
here.
All
right.
We hope to
okay.
have this kind of conversation some other times.
Pleasure with mine.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube and you want to join Uche Noche's mentorship program, it's quite easy. Just go to linktr.ee/Uche Noche and you will be right in. There's an Instagram there's a WhatsApp option and Telegram option. It's a personal advice that you choose WhatsApp, so that's easier to communicate. That's a close group of people that he constantly mentors and is always in touch with them, leading them to greatness in many ways. So thank you so much for showing up here. And then on Monday next week, we'll have the marketplace again with Uche Noche, and I hope that you also join. Have a great evening, and thank you for sharing.